You know that feeling when it seems like your own mind is working against you? Like there's this nonstop chatter in your head that you just can't switch off? Well, today, we're going to dive into a really powerful skill that is basically the master key to managing our entire inner world. And trust me, it's a lot simpler and way more profound than you might think. So let's just start with a huge question. I want you to forget about money or power or even getting good advice for a second. When you're facing any challenge at all, from just a bad mood to a massive life decision, what is the single most important first step you can possibly take? Just think on that for a moment. The answer is just one word: observation. Yep, that's it. The simple act of becoming aware. And I know what you're probably thinking. Really? That's all? Just looking? But believe me, behind this one simple word lies a deep, scientific, and spiritual secret. So let's break it down. Okay, so what is this, really? Observation isn't passive. It's not just sitting there. It is an active skill. You can't measure something like love or beauty with a ruler, and it's the same with observation. You can't quantify it, but you definitely know it has different levels of depth. It's really the ability to look inward and connect with a part of yourself that's usually just drowned out by all the noise. When you start to practice this skill, you enter what our source material calls your inner void. Now, I know, that sounds kind of empty, maybe a little scary, but it's actually the complete opposite. This quiet space inside you is the wellspring of everything valuable: your creativity, your sense of peace, and that gut feeling we call intuition. Now, this isn't just some nice philosophy. There's some really fascinating science that explains why this inner silence is so incredibly powerful. Let's take a look at what is actually happening inside your brain when you just observe. Get ready for this number, because it's a big one. Modern psychology tells us that over 95% of our thoughts are subconscious and repetitive. Let that sink in. That means for most of the day, your mind is like a machine just cranking out the same old thoughts on a loop, whether you want it to or not. That's a staggering amount of time on autopilot. And neuroscience shows us something amazing. When you really get into a state of observation, two key things happen in your brain. First, your limbic system. Think of it as your brain's emotional fight or flight center. It actually starts to calm down. At the exact same time, your prefrontal cortex, the logical, CEO, decision-making part of your brain, it lights up and becomes more active. So you're literally shifting from an automatic reaction to a thoughtful response. And this is so crucial. The goal is not to achieve some mythical state of no thoughts or to turn off your mind. Come on, that's impossible. The real goal is to learn how to manage the flow of thoughts, to be the conductor of the orchestra, not just a musician getting swept away by the noise. So to do that, you've got to understand the two main players inside your own head. We all have this internal conflict happening pretty much 24/7, and just recognizing it is the first giant step toward finding some balance. Okay, so on one side, you've got the chatty mind. This is your constant analyst, your inner judge, the storyteller that never, ever shuts up. And then on the other side, you have the observing mind. It's silent, it's aware, and it experiences things directly without that layer of commentary. So the big question is, which one is running the show for you most of the time? Here is the perfect analogy for this. The chatty mind is like having someone sit next to you in a movie theater, whispering loudly the entire time. Oh, I bet he's the bad guy. That was a weird camera angle, don't you think? She shouldn't have said that. You're so busy listening to the analysis that you completely miss the actual experience of the film. That's exactly what the chatty mind does to our lives. It traps us in analysis and keeps us from truly feeling and experiencing the moment. All right, so let's get practical. Let's take this from theory to a very real, very high-stakes situation. How can we use this power of observation to manage one of the most powerful and sometimes destructive human emotions: anger? There's a scientific term for this skill. It's called metacognition. It literally just means thinking about thinking. It's basically the superpower of being able to step back and watch your own thoughts and feelings as they happen. You can think of it like an early warning light on your mental dashboard, signaling that an emotional storm is brewing. And mastering this, well, it's not an overnight thing. It's a journey, and it has some pretty clear stages. At first, you might only realize you were angry long after the outburst. That's step one. Totally normal. With practice, you move to step two, catching yourself right in the middle of the storm. Then comes step 3, where you can actually feel it building before it even hits. And finally, you reach step 4. This is where you can simply watch that storm of anger rise up, pass through you, and leave, without it ever taking control. So how do you get there? How do you climb those steps? Well, it all comes down to a super simple, consistent practice. And this is something you can start doing today. It takes less time than making a cup of coffee. Here it is. For just 2 or 3 minutes a day, that's it. Close your eyes, let your body relax as much as it can, and then just listen. Listen to the chatter in your mind without judging it, without trying to change it, without getting tangled up in it. And maybe the most important part is step 4, have zero expectations. Don't look for some magical, mystical experience. Just show up and listen. You see, the effect is cumulative. I absolutely love this metaphor. Like a cloth repeatedly dipped in dye, you will slowly become saturated with inner silence. Each 3-minute session is just one little dip. It might not seem like much at first, but over time, that color, that inner peace, it really sets in deeply. You know, other people might even notice the change in you before you do. And that brings us to the final and most profound takeaway. You can't force this. You can't go out and hunt down awareness or wrestle your mind into submission. It doesn't work that way. All you can do is create the space for it. Just open your hand, practice patiently, and one day you'll find that awareness has caught you. What might change in your life if it did?